folks. Yeah, it's good to be here, practice together. Um, yeah, please find your posture. If you're tired, just preserving the bodily relaxation without pairing it with unconsciousness. If you're hyped up, just breathing gently into the hyperarousal. Stretched between heaven and earth, as one of my teachers would say. And whatever you think is me, whatever you think is world, just keep relaxing. Meditation doesn't really deal in the register of problems and solutions, my life. Just become very simple. What is the most smallest possible unit, the quark of sensory experience? What, if anything, is right here? All phenomena are freighted with memory. To be fresh means we have to forget a lot. What even is this breath? We become too busy knowing in order to get caught up in referentiality, triangulating object, meditation, meditator. We are saturating the channel with data, too busy knowing to know who or what or where we are. Then there's self and world and referentiality, strategies. We're asked to love that too. The arising of self is only humiliating for the self. Mother Nature always knows when we're trying to hide, clinging behind our back. Relax. Wow, I guess I'm in kind of a weird mood. Sort of never know how you are till you meditate in a way. Anywho, it's good to practice with you. Okay, so the research psychologist, group of them, psychological science, they write, at its best, gives a roadmap for responding to life's challenges, navigating relationships, organizing ourselves in groups, learning and working effectively, and combating injustice. After decades and billions of dollars spent, perhaps our best answer is it depends. It depends. Wisdom depends. The shape of our love depends. Who to be, how to manifest, it depends. And high functioning requires a great deal of fluidity and flexibility. And we usually associate enlightenment with strength, but I think it's more actually about flexibility, about manifesting different qualities of heart depending on the moment. And the Buddha said that everything shakes within, trembles from within, and that we can't perceive the tremble most of it, the time does not imply its absence, does not imply permanence. And anicca, the trembling, the kind of remarkable number of permutations of this moment, the next moment, what this may be, that sort of demands flexibility. If you only run one play, you get into trouble. I was watching that old Saturday Night Live, more, skit, more cowbell, more cowbell. I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell. If you only do one thing, kind of, you get in trouble, only one play. If our strategies for meeting the moment are rigid and constrained, we get into trouble. If our model of ourselves cannot bend, we get into trouble. And one way of thinking about Dharma is that we're dramatically expanding the range of ways that we can cope with dukkha, with suffering, our own and the suffering of others, expanding the range of ways we cope. We're increasing the things we can manifest in a moment, the kind of facets of our heart. The Dharma is sometimes called a kind of collection of skillful means, that implies a measure of pragmatism, flexibility. It's not fetishizing one teaching, one skill. It's about being able to be fluid. And so what allows us to be flexible? What makes us inflexible? most broadly, you could say that clinging makes us inflexible. A lot of ways of answering that question, but most broadly, clinging makes us inflexible. Clinging only sees a kind of narrow pathway for our happiness. It's this labyrinth, and I have to go through in this way. And when we only perceive that pathway for happiness and everything else looks wrong, we become contracted and inflexible. When we are deeply attached, cling to convention, we become inflexible. You know, everything we take to be the natural way of doing things, we actually relinquish that. There's nothing, in a sense, that's natural. There's only dependent co-arising. And that doesn't mean we don't follow convention. I follow so many conventions, but we know it's empty. The foundation is empty. Maybe we say at the root, inflexibility is we find egoic processes, our fidelity to who we think we are, our compulsion to reiterate the self again and again, the way we abhor egoic disorientation, the defensiveness that is the hallmark of self, you know, the emotional, or to use psychoanalytic term, libidinal investment in a particular view of the self that creates inflexibility. The shame that is the underbelly of all selfing, that creates inflexibility. There's so much feeling bound up in all of this. And I've been alluding, elliptically to the Buddha's four categories of clinging, of sense pleasure and view and convention and self. But perhaps clinging to self is, in fact, a kind of clinging to sense pleasure, egoic pleasure, clinging to convention, clinging to view. And so, how open can our system be? Being being wrong feels like it threatens the territory of me, you know. And so it makes sense to me that as a species, we're have a tough time acknowledging we were wrong, are wrong, how terrible our country is, and acknowledging it's been wrong, that we're currently pervasively wrong in ways we don't even understand yet. You know, it's like, yet to be wrong is cast like some shadow on the self, and there's just shame. And closer to home in relationships and um, within families or close relationships, like how many conversations go sideways because being wrong feels inherently shameful. The ways that makes us inflexible. Rachel Kusk wrote that an argument is only an emergency of self-definition after all. All this makes us inflexible. We cannot manifest for the benefit of this moment, of the people in this moment. And so I'm not suggesting that we are like chameleons all the way down, you know, infinitely plastic or something like that, or that there are no abiding commitments. But at the base level, what we're most interested in is the commitment to reduce suffering. That takes a lot of fluidity. The Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, sometimes depicted with like 100 arms to 1,000 arms to meet the cries of the world, the suffering of the world. And maybe it's like 1,000 faces, ways of manifesting, fluid ways of manifesting, such that we can be this in this moment, be that with that person, meet the conditioned as skillfully as we can, as fluid as we can. Sajjan, Sajito, there are certain things that seem like fixed realities, such as me and quote the world. As long as we are operating on the level, it's always that level, it's always confusing. What you should really look at is the arising condition that bonds the two. This is dependent arising. The relationship between me and the world is the thing you should be aware of. This is really the living point of where you are. And from that relationship, the self and the world are born. From that relationship of fear, worry, narrowness, stinginess, brightness, or joy, the world and the self are born. They are dependently arisen. They are dependent upon these crucial psychological movements that can be experienced in our own chitta, heart mind. So there's not a dispute that there's something like heart mind, chitta, and the world. It's just that the living point where you are, the way self and world congeal, that depends on a relationship. And it's shaped by the habit energies of fear or optimization, peace. And if we can be very awake to the living point, we become more fluid and flexible. We have no preference for siding with ourselves. Next time, where you're having a kind of argument with someone you love, maybe, uh, see what it would take to fully take their side. And the ways that the kind of the shame of wrongness or the rigidities um, bind us to a particular view, rigid manifestation of self. Two people under one robe, Kitty Sorrow famously said about relationship as practice, and but maybe we should think more than two. How many people might fit under one robe? How uh, fluid can we be in manifesting, releasing self and manifesting as something useful? So offer this for consideration. And yeah, nice to be with you all. Wish you well, and be back next week. Something. Okay, thank you.